Welcome back. For this section of the webinar, I will be sharing with you some rehearsal exercises that will help actors make stronger choices, as well as build a connection and a sense of ensemble in your rehearsal. These exercises will help the actors connect emotionally and physically to the character that they are portraying. So, the first rehearsal, which is the read through or the table read. The actors generally read through the entire script, they sit in a circle, and this is an opportunity for the director to hear the voices of all the actors that's been cast in the play together. This is also an opportunity for the actors to also hear the play being read out loud, and it's the start of their script and textual analysis. This is where conversations about the plot, the story, the message, the themes, the characters, and the relationships between the characters, this is where that conversation discussion begin. The actors take note of the facts and things that the playwright explicitly states about their character and just about the world of the play in general and the conflict that arises in the play. This is an opportunity for the actors to also begin to ask questions as they read through the play, and also to ask questions directly to the director as they read through to get a deeper understanding. Once they've gone through the table reads or the first read through process, then they begin to dive into the rehearsals where they are now on their feet. And the first couple of rehearsals outside of the read through, director usually has the actors explore these different exercises to build a sense of ensemble and connection between the actors, especially actors that are working with scene partners that need to have a sense of connection. So this is a great time. So whether you are working on a play in your class, a production class, or your drama club, it's always helpful to spend some of the rehearsal time really building a sense of unity between your actors. Now, here are some creative exercises that I found for the classroom or the play rehearsal that I found really helpful in helping my actors connect to the character emotionally and finding the physical life of the character. It really helps them to start to make stronger choices as actors. So during my rehearsal process, I have my students warm up. So we do a vocal and we do a physical warm up, and we meet in our production circle. And one of the exercises that are done during a production circle is what I call rehearsal goal setting. So the students journal in their composition notebook, or sometimes if we are using our Chromebooks, they may have a Google Doc where they journal or document their journal entries. And they will set goals, individual goals for the rehearsal time. I also have goals for our class period, but I also have the students notate what are some things that personally that they need to work on for their character or for their scene. As we go through the rehearsal process, I also have I also lead my actors through different characterization exercises that again allows them to explore the character. And then at the end of the rehearsal, I provide feedback and we may rework certain scenes based on the feedback. Throughout the rehearsal process, the actors they continue the analysis process. It doesn't just stop in the beginning. These exercises allow them to make discoveries that they may not have noted when they were just scoring the script. And they also continue to ask questions about the character to better understand the personality and the objective. And again, those things may change throughout the rehearsal process as they form new understanding of the character and also as they are working with their scene partner throughout the play or the scene. So, again, here are some of the exercises. So, the first one is the rehearsal goal setting. Another exercise is the table talk. There's character circle, stages of life. There's texture work, costume piece, improv the scene, opera, fast forward, and gibberish. I'm going to go in details for each of these. So the first rehearsal exercise that I'll discuss is the table talk. During the first week, it's a really good idea to have young actors or even seasoned actors to gain ownership of the show. This is where I may bring in pictures, I bring in magazine newspapers, I may bring in articles about events that are pertaining to the play. I bring in pictures of individuals that remind me of the character. So it's really just a show and tell again, and this allows them to have a visual understanding of my vision, and it just deepens the actor's understanding of the play. And again, it allows them to gain ownership of the show. The next exercise that I use with my students is called the character circle. So the actors all sit in a circle and they take turns saying their character's name, and they'll point to another actor, and that person has to repeat the first actor's character name as well as their character. And as we go through the rehearsal process, I may even have the actors decide on a movement or a gesture or a mannerism that they think their character would use throughout the play or just really identifies their character. And they would do the movement, say the character's name, point at another person in the circle. That individual would then repeat the character's name and the movement of the first actor, and then demonstrate their movement or gesture and repeat and say their character's name. And this is just, I use as like a rehearsal warm up, um, and also as a way for students to really start to think of what movement or what gesture or what's the mannerism of their character. The next exercise that I have my students explore is called the stages of life. So it's a great exercise for students to, again, find appropriate movements and to begin to think about the vocal work of the character. So I would have them first start off acting like an infant. So they think about how would that person sound, what are the movements and mannerisms and posture of an infant. Then we go on to toddler, so 5-year-old, 10, teenager, all the way up. And then I would have them also think about their specific character and how they think their character would move as a child versus a teenager versus an adult and an elderly person. And again, this is just to have them really start to think about physicality and movement as well as the vocalization of their character. Then the next exercise that I also use during the rehearsal process to help my students connect is called the texture work. So during this exercise, the actors are encouraged to bring something that has the feel or the texture of their character. So something that helps them or reminds them of the character. And while working on the scene, the actors encouraged to use that item somehow, or to allow the texture of the item or the material to influence the way they speak and move. And again, this is just to help them to really to use outside objects to connect to their character. Another exercise that I also use, it's called costume piece. So during the rehearsal, I may give the actors different costume pieces to use, or I may have them bring in pieces that they think their character would wear or use. A lot of, some of my actors, they work from the outside in. So sometimes the script analysis process, which helps them to connect emotionally and really understand the psychology of the character, that doesn't always help to bring home or to really help them connect all the way. So, allowing them to use costume pieces or props is really, really helpful. Some students, you put on a costume on them and they completely transform. So, again, I'd bring in different costume pieces or have them bring in different pieces they think their character would wear. And I would ask them to really allow the piece to influence their movement and the response and how they interact in the mannerism of their character. And then at the end of this exercise, they would share their discoveries, as well as I'll have them journal about any discoveries or how it felt to complete that exercise. The other exercise that I'd like to share with you, it's called Improv the Scene. So this is once the students have a good understanding of the the character of the scene and the dialogue, and they're really looking to connect more and to really figure out the character's intentions and the obstacle. And I also find this very helpful when my students are just reciting the lines in a very monotone way. This helps to improve that. So they would read the scene, we'll discuss the overall arc of the scene, and how the plot develops. And then I would encourage them to use the scenario from what's happening in the scene and just improvise it. They don't have to use the specific lines that are in the script. This, a lot of times, has helped my actors find the emotional journey of the character within the scene. Another exercise that I have my students explore, it's called opera. So this is where they sing the lines of the in the scene, and this also helps them to avoid being monotone and to allow them to find emotional opportunities within the scene, and just to find the greater emotion in the scene. And it allows them to find a variety or variation in the inflections and words that they emphasize. And this is always just a fun activity. But I also have them reflect on that and journal on any discoveries that they have made throughout doing that exercise. Once we get closer to um, the actual performance and opening night, and we're just really cleaning up the scenes, I may have my students do what we call fast forward. So this is where they just like a speed through, they go through the lines really quickly, um, not necessarily rushing the dialogue, but really kind of just picking up the pace. Um, this is helpful. A lot of times the students, they know the lines, but there's a lot of empty spaces and they're not really listening and reacting on time. So this helps to fix those like pacing issues. Another exercise that I have my students do during our rehearsal is gibberish. So this really helps them to find the physical life of the character once they can't rely on the words and they're not focusing on just remembering the lines. They are relying on their gestures and facial expressions to really communicate the character's intention and emotions. So this is a really good exercise for them to explore that. There are several other really great creative exercises that you can use during the rehearsal process to help your students really connect and bring to life the character that they've been cast or assigned to portray. I will share this document with the webinar video for your use.